Batman Ninja is the first ever DC animated film to be made by anime directors and to be made with an anime art style. Basically, it's just anime but with Batman in it. Now, I think I, like most people, were really intrigued to see what this movie looked like because of its really promising trailer. The trailer showcased a lot of the crazy animation and stuff that would be happening in this film. And yeah, it pretty much sold me from the moment I saw the trailer as well. And I have to admit, after seeing this movie, I wouldn't necessarily say I love it, but there is still a lot to appreciate about what they did with this film. First up, the animation is fantastic. It's easily the best aspect of this film, and it's really cool to see characters like the Joker and Batman turned into this very unique and very over-the-top style. Like, I don't think I've ever seen the Joker look this menacing since probably one of Mark Hamill's interpretations in the animated Batman series. The way they emphasise the smile on his face and make him look way more psychotic than he usually is just really adds to that, you know, villainous side of that character, and that pretty much applies to the whole movie. The animation really stands out, and you can tell that they're really putting everything they have animation-wise into this movie. And I also liked how the change in animation style, you know, with it being anime, actually kind of plays a part in the story as well, because the story is basically that the movie starts off in Gotham City in modern times, but then something happens and all of the characters get transported back to ancient Japan, which kind of coincides with the anime art style, seeing that anime is, of course, Japanese. And I really like that twist to it because, one, it gives an excuse for them to go all out with the animation, and it also gives them an excuse to use the anime style of animation. And two, it also gives something for the characters to think about, especially the character of Batman in this movie, because I've never really seen Batman in a scenario like this, at least not from the comics or any other films that I've seen. And I really liked what they did with him in this movie, because after a while he realises that his high-tech gadgets aren't going to work in an ancient Japanese setting, so he has to work with the times and adapt to the fighting styles and the things they have that he has around him. So I really like that aspect, and the fact that the story gives them an excuse to use this animation style and for the characters to develop in a way that you're not really expecting, I thought was a really nice touch. The voice acting as well in this movie is pretty good for the most part. My favourite inclusion in this movie probably has to be whoever does the voice of the Joker. I can't exactly remember the name of the guy who does the Joker in this film, but like I said, his voice put together with the way he looks makes him borderline insane. Like, he is probably the most psychotic, deranged version of the Joker I think I've ever seen in a film. He's just, like, you just have to take one look at him and you can tell that this guy snapped several years ago. There is no shred of a normal human being left inside him. He is completely nuts. And that is amazing to see in a film like this, because all the other interpretations of the Joker I've seen, animated or non-animated, they always have that kind of, there's still a human aspect in them. It might not be fully there, but you can still, see that there is a former shell of a person there. This version of the Joker is just straight up, insane. He's just nuts. That being said, as good as the Joker is in this movie, I feel as if the other villains that are in this movie don't get enough time to shine, because this movie is pretty much like most other Batman stories. It's Batman versus the Joker. And don't get me wrong, I love the Joker just as much as the next guy, but you have other really, really good Batman villains in this movie, such as Two-Face, Penguin, Poison Ivy, and Deathstroke. But whenever they're featured in the film, it just kind of feels like a kind of a cameo. They're only in the film for they're not even in the film for like a full scene. They're just there in bits. And it's a shame because I really like, again, like the Joker and Batman and most of the characters, I really like the art direction that they've given to those characters to make them fit the ancient Japanese aesthetic and setting. But it's just a shame that you don't really get to see much of them in the movie. That being said, though, it was really cool and kind of funny to see that Tom Kenny, the guy who does the voice of SpongeBob, does the voice of the Penguin in this movie, and I thought that was actually quite funny. And unfortunately, my problems with the film don't stop there. There are quite a few like really cheesy moments that I suppose are because, you know, they fit the anime style, but they just are really too cheesy when you're watching it, especially for the first time. They can come across as a bit cringy with how cheesy some of the moments are, and they don't put you off of the film, at least it didn't for me, but they're just kind of, oh, that was a bit shit, let's just move on. So those moments really did kind of bug me. And the other thing that I didn't like about this film is that its finale, the big battle scene that is at the end, does push the boundaries in terms of believability, and it is rather bloated. It goes on for quite some time, and it takes up pretty much the entire third act of the film, which in some movies can work. I mean, it works in Lord of the Rings, especially the last one, Return of the King. But here, it literally drags out for way longer than it needs to be. And certain things happen within that battle that are just, you know, they're dumb. They're really dumb. That's the best way I can put it. And again, I get that it's an anime, and anime can be full of really weird shit sometimes, but what they do in this movie, just like, you had a pretty consistent tone throughout the whole film, and then the stuff at the end happens and it's like, really, what the fuck are they actually doing? This is actually kind of stupid. So yeah, apart from those problems, I still highly recommend that you see this movie if you're a fan of Batman or if you're a fan of anime, solely because the animation and the voice acting is really good. And I would happily watch this movie again if it was, you know, just on the TV in the background. I would happily sit down and watch it again. But I'm in no rush to immediately see it again after seeing it for the first time, which is why I'm going to give Batman Ninja a 7 out of 10. I was really hoping for this to be, like, amazing. And, like I said, for the most part, it is enjoyable and it is good. But there are just a few things that happen in the movie that just kind of make you go, nah, this is borderline shit what they're doing right now. So guys, that was my review for Batman Ninja. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Bye.